We have Kentucky Senator Rand Paul with us. He's a Republican, and he joins us now. Sir, thank you for being with us.
Glad to be here.
So what do you think about this possibility of Secretary Pompeo serving in both of these roles?
I think the problem that we've had in the past has been that there have been people around the president who don't believe in the president's vision. I can tell you that originally I was not enthusiastic about Secretary Pompeo, but in my interactions with him, I think he does listen to the president. He's trying to fulfill the president's vision. And I think this is different than Bolton, John Bolton had his own sort of ideas and his own sort of agenda, and I think he tried to undermine the president. I don't get that feeling with Secretary Pompeo. Now, I do hope, though, that Secretary Pompeo will really digest and understand that President Trump has been against the Iraq war. He's one of the people who recognized early on that the Iraq war was a mistake and destabilized the Middle East, and that the president really wants to get out of Afghanistan, that the war's long been over and there's no clear mission. And from what I understand, and I'm not always on the inside, but from what I hear, I think Secretary Pompeo has been trying to fulfill the president's desires in Afghanistan. And I think this would be a major coup for our country if we had leaders strong enough to actually end the Afghan war. It's an endless war. And I'll never forget President Trump in the State of the Union saying that great nations don't fight endless wars or perpetual wars. And I really respect that from the president. And my hope is if he makes this decision with Secretary Pompeo, that he'll fulfill the president's vision.
So you are comfortable, as long as you see him fulfilling that vision, you are comfortable with him serving in both roles, just to be clear, yes?
Well, what I would say is it's not my job to tell the president what to do. My job is that I want people to fulfill the president's vision.
Okay, I see.
And from the outside looking in, I do think that Secretary Pompeo is trying to fulfill the president's vision, and I think that's really in great contradistinction to John Bolton, who I think was trying to fulfill his own agenda.
Okay, anyone who's been looking at your Twitter account here the last day has gotten some drama from it, because you and Congresswoman Liz Cheney have been getting into a contentious exchange on Twitter, and you even just tweeted back at her. You took issue with her for, in your words, advocating for endless war, which you're clearly against. She replied, quote, "I stand with Donald Trump and our men and women in uniform who will never surrender to terrorists, unlike Rand Paul, who seems to have forgotten that today is 9/11. What was your reaction to that?
I guess the problem with the Cheneys, both Dick and Liz, is that they've always been never-Trumpers. They hate President Trump's foreign policy. They want to stay in Afghanistan forever. They're apologizing for John Bolton. They love John Bolton. So really, they are part of this foreign policy swamp that's been trying to undermine President Trump. And so people of Wyoming and people across the United States need to know that the Cheneys are never Trumpers. I mean, Dick Cheney just last year was criticizing Mike Pence and going all in about, president's foreign policy. Just last year, Liz Cheney was criticizing President Trump over, saying that our allies should pay more. So the main aspects of President Trump's American first foreign policy, the Cheneys are dead set against it. They are never Trumpers, and they just need to be honest with the people of Wyoming and honest with the people of the country.
She has been critical. You at times have been critical of certain policies as well. And when I look at these tweets, you're tagging Donald Trump in them, both of you. And I wonder if, even as we're seeing this discussion online highlight, I think, two really important different philosophies on foreign policy, do you worry that it's devolving a bit into this butt-kissing contest that's a little unbecoming of two members of Congress?
Well, I think these are very important things. Should we stay in Afghanistan forever? That's an important debate for the country. It's also an important debate for the Republican Party. And I campaigned all across Kentucky. In fact, I campaigned all across the country saying that the $50 billion a year we're spending in Afghanistan is throwing money down a rat hole. I have 3 nephews in the military. I have a good friend whose son is joining the military now and will be in combat. I don't want them to go to Afghanistan if there is no military mission. And I ask the generals all the time, what is our mission? What is our national security interest in Afghanistan? And there is no answer. So this isn't just about me butting heads with the never-Trumpers and the Cheney family. This is about me saying, this is what President Trump believes. I think President Trump has said for more than a decade that that we should get out of Afghanistan, but also that the Iraq war and regime change was a mistake. The Cheneys and the John Boltons, they're all for regime change. They want to remake the world in our image by toppling people militarily, and I think the president really gets that that's a mistake.
I want to ask you about something else related to the military, these DoD construction funds that have been diverted to pay for the wall. And I really want to ask you this, especially in light of the fact that you voted against the emergency declaration that permitted the president to divert these funds. One of the projects shelved because of this is a much needed on-base middle school at Fort Campbell in your state of Kentucky, where you've got the population of these two middle schools. You know this, they've been crammed into one substandard building that really cannot accommodate these 500 or so kids. Here's what one teacher on base said to us about this.
They've lived under the stress of war their entire lives, multiple deployments. We deploy probably more than any other base. There's stress at home during each of those deployments. The school should be a safe haven for them.
I mean, you have the 101st Airborne there. You've got 5th Group, the Special Forces there. These are their kids. What can you do to help fix this?
Well, I have a great deal of sympathy for the families of those soldiers who are deployed, and we have to have good schools for them. It's inexcusable that we don't. As far as the separation of powers, I've been consistent, whether the president was a Republican or a Democrat. I think the power of the purse resides in Congress. Congress decided to spend money on that school, and that's what should happen. I will vote that way and have voted that way. The majority of my caucus, Republicans and Democrats, have voted the other way. So in all likelihood, I will win. But given a chance to vote again, I will vote to send that money to the school and to keep it in the military budget. But I do agree with the president's vision in the sense that I think we need more money for border security, and he's at wit's end and has done something that I don't entirely agree with. But I am supportive of more money for border security, and I think we do have a calamity at our border, and frankly, the Democrats need to get on board and help us to try to fix the border problem.
Then are you supportive of this Democratic effort to get another vote on the emergency declaration?
I will always vote for Congress's power of the purse and that the executive should not be able to spend money.
Do you support, of course, I hear you saying that, do you support their effort to get a vote on it then you would have the opportunity?
The vote is a privileged vote and will occur. I voted that way in June, and I will vote again that way if it comes up again.
All right, Senator Paul, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.